So if you've ever looked at China's one-child policy and thought, you know what, that sounds like a pretty good idea, well, then you might be a Democrat. Because just recently, a Pennsylvania House Democrat has actually introduced a bill saying that you can only have 3 children, and then afterwards, men must have a vasectomy. They must be forcibly sterilized by the government. And as insane as this sounds totally insane. Like, I mean, will it ever get passed? I personally doubt it, but it's important for us to remember. We thought the same thing about a lot of these issues 10 years ago. When it came to men beating the hell out of women in MMA matches 10 years ago, we thought that was insane. We thought that was ridiculous. And now it's here. So when these Democrats put forward these insane bills, we need to talk about them. So right here, I have the article pulled up. Pennsylvania House Democrat introduces forced sterilization and 3-child limit legislation. Pennsylvania Democrat Christopher Rabb sent out a memorandum to all House members regarding his legislation that will enforce reproductive responsibilities among men. The bill will force men to undergo vasectomies within 6 weeks of having their 3rd child or their 40th birthday, whichever comes first. What the hell does being 40 have to do with anything? A guy can have a kid after 40 with no repercussions. There is, women, if they have a kid past 40, there can be some issues, not just for them, but also for the child as well. Even then, obviously, if people want to have kids past their 40s, that's their choice as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, when it comes to men, we could be 80. Literally, I know someone who's 80 who's about to have he's in his 70s, I believe, his kind of upper 70s. He's about to have a kid, right? And then he's with a much younger woman. Men can have kids at any age. There is no age limit on children for the most part, right? So I don't know why they include the 40th birthday there, except for the fact that they want to, and they want to make a point. They want to make a point and try to make it seem like, well, we say women shouldn't have kids past their 40s, so men, you shouldn't have kids past your 40s either for, the equity, right? For equity. This legislation includes a $10,000 reward for whoever snitches to the proper authority on those who have failed to submit to forced sterilization within the allotted time. Forced sterilization. I was going to say it one more time. Forced sterilization. That is what this lunatic is talking about now. Now, admittedly, me and my wife, we want to have like 5 kids. So this already goes, way past what we would ever agree to for multiple reasons, right? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think people have too few of kids, right? We should be above replacement level, right? That's what we should be doing. They want a 3-child limit, and that's it. Now, of course, who are the people who have a bunch of kids? They're typically Republicans, and they're typically in the South, and or not even in the South. They're Republicans who typically live in the country, right? They're people who will usually have good houses, big yards, and because of that can have a bunch of kids, right? A bunch of youngins running around. That is who this obviously is targeting. And of course, the reality is he knows this won't get passed. He knows they're not going to pass it. It doesn't mean this isn't something that's now in the minds of Democrats that they might consider 10 years down the road. Again, there's many things that we're talking about today that are huge issues today that we never would have thought a freaking year ago. We never would have talked about the idea of forced vaccinations against people's will or else you get fired. We would never have considered such a thing. We would never have considered that you have to have your vaccination records on you at all times just to go shopping. We never would have considered this thing just a year ago. So when people tell me, James, this dude is a crazy, just some crazy dude who's putting forward this bill just to piss people off. I believe you to a certain degree, but at the same time, we got to take this stuff seriously because guess what? They are taking, if he had an ability to do it, he would pass it. That's scary enough. The fact that if he had the power, he would do it. He would forcibly sterilize people because they had more than 3 kids. That is how far these people are willing to go. Now, I have the bill actually pulled up, or his the House co-sponsorship memoranda, Pennsylvania House Representative submitted by Christopher Rabb. And I'm just going to jump down here just so we can get kind of an idea of what he submitted to them. That way, this is his words. This is what he submitted. So there's no hyperbole here. This is what he has submitted. So all this, of course, is saying, hey, we need to do more. We need to do more. When we get down here, in order to improve public health outcomes and release sweet justice into households and bedrooms, we must wrap our love of individual liberties and the moral imperative of greater personal responsibility and acknowledge men's essential role in procreation. Now, for one, our love of individual liberty, they kind of make it out to be almost like that's a little bit of a negative, just me. Therefore, I'll be introducing legislation that will require inseminators, that's how they're going to refer to men, because you can't say men anymore, right? Inseminators, that's how they're going to say it, to undergo vasectomies within 6 weeks of having their third child or their 40th birthday, whichever comes first. Further, this legislation will allow Pennsylvanians to take civil action for unwanted pregnancies against inseminators who wrongfully conceive a child with them. I'll start saying just men instead of inseminators because that's just getting ridiculous. So, civil actions for unwanted pregnancy now. You slept with someone. If something broke during sex, that's just that's part of sex, right? There's a risk factor here, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, we've all done stupid things when we were young with people who we never would want to stay with. I get that. But at the same time, you're going to hold the men responsible. To me, it doesn't seem like you should hold really anyone responsible exactly. And the men should be held responsible in the sense of if, they should pay child support. Simple as that. They shouldn't be anything else. This is just lunacy. And again, inseminators. It's just so stupid. This legislation would also empower Pennsylvanians to enforce new law by offering a $10,000 reward for reporting to the proper authorities these scofflaws who have not complied with the statute within the allotted time frame. As long as the state legislature continues to restrict reproductive rights of cis women, trans men, and non-binary people. So he's just referring to women here, right? Females. He's referring to females here, even though, of course, the definition of woman is adult human female. I can't say that, obviously. He's referring to females here when he says cis women, trans men, and non-binary people. Now, restricting reproductive rights on them, I don't know what he's talking about on that. How are their rights being restricted exactly? Or are we fining them if they don't tell the guy, if they're not using birth control? Like, what are we doing to them? Like, if a woman has a bunch of kids from a bunch of different dads and relies on the government for support, do we sterilize her to make sure she can't have any more kids? I don't know what she's talking about, or what he's talking about here. Oh, that's right. He's talking about abortion. He's talking about something that happens, of course, after conception, something that happens after a child has been born, or not born, but a child has been conceived. That's what he's talking about. Because these people, again, they don't understand when we say that we are against abortion. They don't understand that what we're saying is not, oh, we need to control women's bodies. What we're saying is, you made a decision, all right? Just because something happened that you didn't intend to happen doesn't mean that you have a right to murder someone because of it. If the baby comes out, you have no rights to murder it a week after any more than they do a week before, right? A week before birth and a week after birth, there is almost no difference in the child. There just really isn't that much of a difference. Right? There's no reason that you would ever consider abortion a reproductive right. It's just absolute lunacy. And thank God for states like Texas who are really starting to push this. And thank God that the right is actually starting to take a stand on this whole abortion issue. I'm telling you, abortion will be the slavery of our time. And what I mean by that is people will look back in time and go, oh my God, y'all allowed that? Right? That is what this will be, one of the biggest just travesties of our generation, of our just time frame in general, right? When people look back to the 2000s, they're going to be thinking, how do we ever get things so wrong? The same way when we look back at stuff like slavery, we go, how could that have ever existed? That's what's going to happen with abortion, at least that's my hope. But they're, of course, referring to the abortion laws here, and that's what this is really about, right? This is about, of course, sticking it to the guys who want to control women's bodies. Even though we don't want to control women's body, we're just saying you can't murder someone. That's it. We're just saying we can't, you can't murder someone. That's all we're saying. So he continues on. My bill would also codify wrongful conception to include when a person has demonstrated negligence towards preventing contraception during intercourse. Again, Does that include women who say they're on birth control but aren't? I don't know. It doesn't say. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. In the spirit of this popular axiom, I encourage my colleagues to take a gander at this forthcoming bill that seeks to end this egregiously gendered double standard for the benefit of all individuals, our families, and our great commonwealth. So is this dude nuts? Yeah, this dude's nuts. The dude's nuts, right? This bill isn't going anywhere, of course. There's no way they're going to make a bill that's going to forcibly sterilize people once they have 3 kids. They will not enforce a 3-child policy, not anytime soon, at least. But it is worth saying, this is how radical these people really are. Again, if you gave him the ability to pass it, I guarantee you he would vote yes. He would. And that's enough of a problem. The fact this man will still be defended by people left and right, left, it is already a problem in itself. These people have conflated 2 issues that make no sense to be together. They say abortion and forced sterilization of men. Right? Men aren't going around trying to kill their children. That's not men. That's women. Women are trying to kill their children. Men are not trying to kill their children. Men, for the most part, are trying to fight to have more rights to prevent their child from being murdered in the first place. This whole gender double standard nonsense, it's just absolutely ridiculous. No one's telling a woman how many kids she can have. No one's telling a woman that she, if she doesn't use her birth control properly, then she'll be forcibly sterilized by the government. No one's saying these things. Yet, of course, they want to conflate the idea of abortion with these sort of things because they have no basis in science. They have no basis in morality, and they're willing to do whatever they can just to get those gotcha points at the Republicans. This is a PR stunt, I know. I get it. It's a PR stunt. It never will pass. But the fact that this is the sort of stuff they're trying to pull, this is the sort of stuff they feel comfortable with saying, hey, yeah, let's forcibly sterilize men if they have, 3 kids. Or the fact they're, even consider the fact of having more than, 3 kids is too many kids, or 4 kids is too many. I know people who have 7 kids. They love each and every one of them. They're a great family. They go to our church. They have 7 freaking kids. I don't know how they do it, don't get me wrong, but they're a great family. The fact that anyone would even recommend such a thing is just absolute insanity. But we gotta be on the guard with stuff like this because we gotta make sure we push back wherever we can because, like I said before, 10 years ago we would have said a man beating the hell out of a woman in a UFC cage would have been, that's ridiculous. It never would happen. A year ago we would have said that, of course, these vaccine mandates, well, it never will happen. You're just a conspiracy theorist. The government would never do such a thing. And yet here we are. Here we are. The CDC will never not call a woman and instead call her just pregnant person. Here we are. So it's important for us when we see some of this radical stuff, not to just discount it, just going, oh, nut job, bye. It's important for us to address it and go and point attention to it. No, this is how crazy these people are. This is how insane these people are. These are the people you want to be aligned with. Come on now. That's a great Joe Biden says. Come on, man. Either way, what do you think? Obviously, I think I have an idea that none of you out there are probably going to agree with 3-child limit, but should we take this stuff seriously or should we just kind of discount it and say, whatever, nut job? I think we should start taking this stuff a bit more seriously. Leave a comment below. What do you think? As well as obviously, if you've enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up, like it, helps out a lot. And don't forget, if you enjoy watching these, subscribe to the channel. Majority of people watching are not subscribed, so subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Either way, thanks so much for watching, and we'll be talking again real soon.